So, yes, we've made it through to the Six of Pentacles. Yes, we've survived all the hardship and what have you. And the Six is kind of, things are getting better, really, aren't they, from the Five?
Yeah.
Things
Absolutely.
are getting better. Like this card. I get a lot out of this card. You know, sometimes I just see the scales. I kind of think it's a sort of a lower version of justice or whatever.
Yeah. Who's the most deserving?
Yeah. I definitely also see that it, you know, going with the positive here, if this is a generous man, his generosity can only be, he can only be who he is if he's got people to be generous with. It's no good being a giver unless you've got a receiver.
Right. So true. And I really love the fact that the scales are there, not only as far as, who's the more deserving, like we talked with the Five of Coins, how some people will play the system, but also in the fact that, he does have those nice clothes. He does have those fine things.
Yeah.
He's actually making sure that he doesn't, because a lot of givers, and I'm just skipping around here. Let me finish that sentence. He's making sure that he doesn't give so much away that he goes without. And that's not a selfish thing. So many givers give so much of themselves that they deplete themselves or go without. It's a bad thing. It turns to resentment. And so he knows how to balance that to where he can be helpful, but he also retains his lifestyle that he's worked for and earned.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember years and years ago, I've never thought about this until like you've said that, I got what I consider to be the most awful job I've ever had in my life. And it was, I didn't last very long. It was telephone fundraising. It was horrible. And you had to phone people up and say, oh, I'm ringing from let's say the RSPCA or something, protection of animals, whatever. And, we're doing a collection. And then you'd get people on the phone going, oh, I'm really sorry, dear, I'm on a pension, and you wanted to go, oh, God, I'm sorry to have bothered you, and put the phone down, but you weren't allowed to do that. You had to you were trained with all these techniques to kind of like get something out of them. And I felt absolutely awful.
Yeah.
I honestly hated this job. And I remember the supervisor or something said, don't feel guilty about it because people like you are doing this, that the charities do benefit. They rely on getting these donations. So it was very, very hard to kind of justify to myself that doing this job. It felt horrible. I didn't last. I couldn't do it. But there were people there that were really, really good at it. And obviously the charities were like really happy to kind of pay. I think the charities paid per phone call that was made on their behalf, but they had people that were like absolutely like nailing it. So it was awful. But I don't know. I think the thing about this card, if you're looking at it from the point of view of the two needy people, the two people on the floor, they're not earning money. They are receiving generosity, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're on the receiving end of generosity. And I kind of like feel some people are like proud, and sometimes it's difficult to accept generosity, and that might be the card in reverse.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to accept generosity if it's being kind of given to you. You just have to graciously accept it.
And I love your use of the word generosity, because I had learned this card as charity. And receiving charity is a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Charity and generosity are two different things. Charity feels like, oh, I don't know how to explain it. Like I'm above these people. And even though he's standing and they're kneeling, the look on his face, he's being more generous than. Does that make any sense? The difference between the charity and the generosity?
It does to me, because I remember, and you know this story, so I'm not going to sort of name any names, but I remember when I had I got robbed. And somebody very generously took it upon themselves to raise all this money to reimburse me for what I got robbed. And it was like, I was not expecting it at all. I could not believe that this person had been so sort of like generous.
Mm-hmm.
I felt very uncomfortable about accepting that, to be quite honest. But I didn't dare turn it down. That would have just been so rude.
Yeah.
And it was clearly that person got a great deal of, I don't know, just felt it was the right thing to do. It would have been really mean of me to say, I don't want this.
Right.
I don't want it, or I don't need it, but I'm not comfortable at all about this. So I just had to accept it, you know. And I don't see that as a fault of the person that was so generous. I feel that that makes me question something about me. I genuinely felt not only uncomfortable about it, but I also felt that I owed them something for a long time afterwards, which they never made me feel like that.
Yeah.
That was all my own kind of issues. You know, I'm not in any way whatsoever saying that person did anything other than being really kind. But I think there is an art, if you like, to giving and taking, that where both sides just feel this is great.
Yeah.
Like if I won the lottery, if I literally won the lottery, and there is that little lottery ticket there in that card, but if I literally won the lottery, I wouldn't feel, well, I won't win the lottery because I don't enter the lottery, but I wouldn't feel guilty about it, because it's not someone doing this kind of like act of kindness, you know, that makes me feel undeserving or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a funny old thing, giving and taking. It really, really is. Because people get resentful when they feel all they've done is give, and all someone else has done is take.
And I've been in a situation where I had this one friend where she would take nothing from me, and it felt like a lopsided balance. And it even got to the point we are no longer friends. She was give, but it was to the point where she started treating me like a child because she wouldn't allow me to reciprocate. You know what I mean?
Right.
That imbalance, again, with the scales, that imbalance. There's got to be able to be a reciprocity between giving and taking. It can't,
definitely.
even when it's the take, resentment comes in, because then you got that feeling of obligation. And when they say frog, you feel like you're supposed to jump. You know what I mean? I really don't. So I truly hate being the one on their knees asking for the help. I've had to do it. I have had in my life to do that. But as long as the person doing the giving isn't some pompous ass, you know, acting like, he doesn't appear to me like a pompous ass.
No.
He's genuinely giving, and he's weighing, you know, I can give you this, I can give you this.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I feel this card sometimes comes up for me that's got nothing to do with charity. Sometimes this card comes up for me where I feel I'm saying to the person, you need to absolutely budget properly for this thing. You like, so if it is to do with money, you need to be really, really sure what your affordability is, if it is to do with money or if it's to do with time. It's like you need to really, really balance your time so that you know exactly how much you're investing, how much time you have to invest in this thing, and compared to what you're going to get out of it, you know, that what you're giving and what you're getting back kind of like balances it. It's worth it to you. This card is not just about charities and all of that stuff that it can be, but it's not necessarily at all. It can be about yourself and your own re-evaluating your situation, or re-evaluating your time, your energy, your investment, all of that sort of thing.
And if it's a relationship,
the resentment thing that you said, someone's giving, someone's doing all the giving, someone else is doing all the taking. That's all right. That is all right if that's what both people want. If somebody kind of wants to be the one that does everything and enjoys that. I mean, personally, I couldn't stand that. I think it has to go both ways. But if that works successfully and everybody's happy with those roles, you know, that they are naturally receivers in that card, and he is naturally a giver in that card. Yeah, and however you want to interpret that, right? You know, but they're everybody's comfortable with their part in that equation.
Yeah,
and it's balanced. And that is working perfectly.
My military mindset again. You see how he's wounded. He could be our little guy from the Nine of Wands. This could very well be to apply for VA benefits, or I don't know what they call it in England, but we have oh my God, now it's right, DFAC here, Department of Family and something. It's cute.
What's that, like benefits?
Yeah, benefits for housing or benefits for food stamps. This is saying, you know, hey, you might qualify for these benefits. Do yourself a favor and apply for them. It doesn't mean you have to take advantage of the system, but the whole system, at least in the United States, and probably anywhere that has this system, was to help people going through a hard time make it meet. So this definitely, you would qualify for these benefits, whether they be disability or
I definitely think this card covers that.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think the little lottery ticket then is? I mean,
I don't think it was actually a lottery ticket, because I don't know if they had lottery back then like we do, but I do think they had race horses. One of the
it's a gamble.
Yeah, either again, it's bright red. I mean, you can't miss it. And let me circle that. It's the little pocket right here.
Yeah.
Could be a patch, but it does, the way that the art is done, it does look like there's something sticking out of it. It's not a piece of that patch. So it could be a pocket where, you know, he has something to fall back on. And this man is so discerning, and so
it's definitely been put there for a reason. That's not an accident.
It wouldn't be red if it were an accident. But he's so observant. You see that this man still has his hands out. This man is getting the money first. Yeah, if I've got some left over, you might get some, but I think he needs it more because he's wounded and he doesn't have anything to fall back on.
Yeah.
Or this could be, you know, that red of deception. He could be the one who's faking it, because even back then they had people faking it.
Of course, yeah.
What
about in reverse?
In reverse, I do definitely believe that is deception, that they've got the upper hand and they're playing him for a fool.
Nice.
That's one of my
nice. I might not have thought of that, but I definitely noticed the scales above the blue person's head more in reverse than in the upright for some reason. it could mean that he's got it wrong and he's giving the money to the wrong person, like the other one was actually more needy. Maybe.
Yep. Or it could be that there's no help available. It
Could be.
It could even be that he's being so generous with his money or his time or his affection that he's falling behind on taking care of himself.
Yeah. It definitely doesn't feel like the scales are balanced at all. I think that's the main thing about it going into reverse. It's like, you know, the books aren't balancing here.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be, this is nasty, actually. Well, I've never said this, but it could be that the Inland Revenue or something are going to come and check on your records.
Oh, hell yeah. Nice. Not nice, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
It could
like,
be.
Don't go cooking the books because I don't like that.
Well, this is the only card where money is changing hands.
Yes.
So
yeah.
upright, you know, that could be boosting the economy. It could be that stipend check while these Americans are waiting on, myself included. In reverse, it could be, you know, take really accurate account of your records in case they're checked.
And the other thing is, in the upright position, it is the rich kind of giving to the poor, but it might be in the kind of reverse position that they're going to cut back on all the benefits for the poorer people. It's kind of like, you know, it's going to be the poor that are not going to be handed out things, and because the rich want to hold on to it all.
Yeah. Wow. This is a tough card. Could be count your change.
Now, I brought, but basically this story is that somebody who I've spoken about before left me with a box of tarot cards that I've just sat there kind of in this box. And because we're doing all of this, I've actually kind of thought I do need to kind of look at what is in this box of cards. I have found this deck called, you would like this deck if you haven't already got it, the Mythic Tarot. Ooh.
That looks familiar.
The Mythic Tarot by Juliet Sharman Burke and Liz Green, illustrated by Trisha Newell. Now, I've chosen the Six of Pentacles to show from this deck. I know I've sent you a copy of a picture of it, right? This has bothered me today, this deck and another deck that I'm going to use for the 7, right? So the Six of Pentacles in this deck actually does show Midas, King of, hang on, is it? Oh no, it's not King. Oh, it says King Minos.
Minos, yeah, he's
not Midas. Okay, Minos.
Now, Minos is the one who built the labyrinth to keep the Minotaur in.
Okay, well, I know you know about myths, and I don't know anything about myths, right? Okay. Now, what I have noticed, and I've only done this today, I mean, I quite like the pictures. I think they're quite nice, but and you can show this picture, but there's this guy whose name is, now I'm going to say it all wrong, Sharon.
That's okay. It's all Greek to everybody.
Daedalus.
That's funny. It's
Was
all Greek to us.
It's all Greek. Yes, it's all Greek to me. Yeah. Okay. Have you heard of Daedalus? Daedalus? Daedalus.
The name sounds familiar, but I'm not getting a concrete memory.
Okay, so basically I mean, I have not read this entire book today, but the Suit of Pentacles tells from what I can gather from just reading the very sort of bare minimum and skipping through, but the Suit of Pentacles tells the story of this Daedalus, the Athenian craftsman who built the labyrinth for King Minos or whatever of Crete. So his story runs through the whole of the suit of Pentacles. Okay.
Ooh.
I think you would very much like this. And it comes with this
Ooh.
book, right? And when he gets to the Six of Pentacles, like in a sense, it is to do with, you know, he's on his knees, he's at his feet, and the king has to decide whether he's going to be a benefactor. You know, it's not that he's giving him a job or he's going to earn any money. It's whether he's going to save him from whatever happened to him in the Five of Pentacles and help him out and give him some money. That is basically what the Six of Pentacles is about. And if you look at the artwork, there is a sort of a stern looking king there. He's got 6 pentacles in his hand and a man on his knees begging.
And look at the face on King Minos.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's rude. See the difference in the body language, and he is holding himself above
Yes.
with that pursed lips, like, should I make him beg a little more type of thing?
There is that. What bothers me about this, and it's a perfectly reasonable scenario to have for the Six of Pentacles, right? And obviously, I think you would probably enjoy this deck, full stop, right?
Just the book alone, I want it. Yeah.
But I feel in order to kind of read from this deck properly, you would really need to kind of know the whole mythological sort of story to kind of like really kind of understand the choice of the artwork. I just don't think it gives you anything close to what the Rider-Waite does in terms of the triggering of your own intuition.
I agree.
Does that make sense?
It does, because you've got to take these specific archetypes into consideration, and you're learning the story, which mythology is fabulous and it does have a lot to do, but you can't lock any specific card meaning. Like, I know a lot of the mythology behind the major arcana, not so much the minors. I don't think they have a whole lot of mythology woven into them, but the majors, I know a great deal of mythology that applies to them. But if I were to take a deck like that, where it was a specific, this is what this means and this is the story, it might lock me into that particular scenario. And
I don't know if I'm being lazy saying that. Yeah, do you see what I'm? I mean, I feel for me to read with this entire deck, even though the pictures, I've had a quick look through the whole deck, but the pictures are really nice. I like the artwork; they're very clear to understand. There's this whole book on it, and I know you would absolutely love it.
I would eat it up. Yeah.
Yeah, and this would give you a lot on the minors, because all of the minor cards are kind of part of the mythological story as well as the majors.
Yeah.
But I don't want anything to tamper with my intuition. I've worked hard to get my intuition to where it's at, if that makes any sense. And I do feel, and it was really weird because I did a deck of the week with the Alice in Wonderland deck a month or so ago.
Yep.
And I know the Alice in Wonderland stories pretty well, and I was thinking, in order to do this deck justice, I need to remind myself of those Alice in Wonderland stories, right? And so that I understand why they chose that particular image, for that particular card. And now, looking at other decks, and I've got another one coming up as well, I'm actually thinking, I don't know if I do want to remind myself of the Alice in Wonderland story, because I just want my intuition to be always kind of my first, most important part of this, rather than being told what the card means.
I think I do love to read any of the books that come with the decks that explain where the art came from and where the author or the illustrator is coming from a psychological, because the only perfect deck for any of us, and God bless those of us who don't know how to draw stick figures even, The only perfect deck that exists is the ones that we would make with our own personal interpretations of what that card means to us. That's the only perfect deck out there for anybody. But I like seeing what angle or what
Yeah, it's
mindset,
fascinating.
what symbolism, but then I let it go. Sometimes it might creep into a reading, but most of the time it's something you have to practice at. Like all of the mythology that I know for the majors, there have been maybe 2 or 3 times where that mythology played into a reading.
Really?
That's
Okay.
it. It's
Okay.
so I just love the stories and I love knowing why people did what they did. Like, why the heck did they put that on that card? Or why did they use this image? But then
Yes.
I think it's a great foundation for understanding the deck, but then let it go. And if it
Let it go.
interprets
Yeah.
into a reading, fine, adds to your tool belt. But if not, just okay. Yeah.
Hmm.
Because
Well,
that's what that
I
card
just, as
means
I
to
say,
that
I
artist.
kind of like, I'm quite up for kind of reading this story of this, what's he called? I've forgotten his name already. Daedalus or whatever it
Daedalus.
Daedalus, maybe that's how you
Yeah.
pronounce it. I'm quite up for reading this and learning about it, but I don't honestly feel that image of the Six of Pentacles is going to give me, other than the expression on the king's face, I don't feel I'm going to really get anything out of this like I get out of the Rider-Waite image. I just don't think it's in the same league.
That look on his face and then the story kind of actually locks you. There's not a whole lot of room, especially the way we both see him. We would see that as lording it over us. I'll help you, but you will
Yeah,
bow at my feet. We'd be really hard pressed to see it because the art does not have any of that ambiguity to it.
no. And that is such a great card for, there's 3 people in that card. There's money being given, there's money being ignored, there's money being received, there's the reverse position, there's
Yeah.
there's just loads in the Rider-Waite. There's loads of possibilities. I mean, maybe if I looked hard enough at this and did some readings, I might get more out of it. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I'm
But
not
you've got to
convinced.
be drawn to the deck too. See, I would be totally drawn because of the
Yes,
mythology
I
that's in
know.
the
Yeah, you
book.
would.
So that might be a deck that just opens worlds for me.
Yes.
But art is subjective. Tarot is subjective.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to find that
But
deck
it
because I
was
want to
really
read the book.
weird because somebody wanted to buy me the Shakespearean tarot. Now, I know I'm an actress, but I don't know that many Shakespeare plays. I've kind of seen a few, studied bits of a few when I was at drama school, but I'm certainly no expert on Shakespeare. And I thought, if you think that I'm going to sit down and read the complete works of Shakespeare to understand a tarot deck, absolutely, like, forget it,
Oh,
right?
I'd be hard pressed to understand the daggone Shakespeare.
I mean, I just thought, but if someone has created a tarot deck based on Shakespeare, surely you're going to have to be pretty kind of like clued up on Shakespeare to bother reading with that. I would have thought.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm saying that without having seen the actual deck. I mean, somebody bought me a deck called the Movie Tarot, and it's got kind of characters from famous movies. Now, that unfortunately, I have not seen all those movies, so it doesn't mean anything to me unless it happens to be one of the characters from the movie that I know. And I think this is the problem with certain decks. Unless you are knowledgeable about the kind of the theme of the deck,
Yep.
I think you're going to be limited what you're going to get out of the artwork.
Even if you do know the theme of the deck, you'll be limited. Seriously, like what you were just talking about with this Mythic Tarot. And let me just jump right in, Mandy.
Right.
But okay, so the Rider-Waite, especially the majors and even the minors with the pictures, those are everyday mundane things that everybody can recognize. And when we
Yes.
get into the majors, the trumps, those are universal archetypes that everybody can recognize. The stern emperor, death. Everybody knows about death. The
Yeah.
tower. They're universally recognized visions that trigger a response. Whereas, good example, somebody gifted me with the Game of Thrones deck. Knowing
Oh,
Game of Thrones, it is a flipping brilliant deck
I've
because
watched
the
Game of Thrones.
archetypes that
Yeah.
they used for the characters. But if I were not familiar with Game of Thrones, I'd be like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
What is going on here? But because I knew Game of Thrones, read it, watched it twice, I love that
Oh, it's brilliant.
fire. The whoever did the deck knew their Game of Thrones and knew the tarot.
Right.
But to try to read it if you don't know the niche that was used, it's impossible. It's just like
Yeah.
you've got to know the archetypes of what you're looking at, what it
Yes.
means.
Yeah.
So those decks are wonderful for collectors, and some people can read with them as well, but they're not great for everyone. They would have a small scale of sales. Well,
And are they going to kind of like have a small scale of interpretations as well?
yeah, because the story with the Rider-Waite, we can tell our own story, even though these archetypes and people and situations are familiar. The script isn't written. We can write it any way that it comes to us.
And to me, it transcends time.
Mm-hmm.
You can make it apply to modern things that didn't exist at the time that those drawings were done. And maybe there are, I don't know, maybe you can do that with your Game of Thrones deck. I don't know. Oh, I haven't seen it. But we do have to cover modern day situations.
We do. And I think Game of Thrones could do that. I haven't read with it, although it's an absolutely brilliant deck for a Game of Thrones person. But what I was saying was we can write the story. Our intuition can write the story. With the Game of Thrones deck, that story was written and scripted. We maybe can compare some aspects of it to reality, but in ultimately that story is written, so it's harder for us to use our intuition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I worry about with this, the Mythic Tarot. And I could be wrong. I could be doing a complete disservice because I haven't read the whole book. I might find it absolutely fascinating, and I might get a lot out of these mythological stories that I can adapt to a modern situation. You know, technically speaking, I'm supposed to be a creative person, you know, so I might be able to kind of think, at the end of the day, this is just a love story, or at the end of the day, this is just a story about someone who's greedy and someone who's who's very needy or whatever. I might be able to make that leap. So it's not fair for me to criticize it just based on looking at one card. But I found it in the box and I thought, Sharon, I'm gonna pull out one of these for today.
I really like that. And I am going to go looking for that. But yeah, I do have mythology in my head for quite a few of the cards. And there are certain ones that lend themselves to the mythology, but more not so much the story itself, but what the story means, what the story conveys, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I can't wait until we get to the High Priestess because I've got one for you.
Right, marvelous. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think I'm being a bit ignorant. The more that this conversation is going on, the more I am being a bit ignorant, because it's like astrology, isn't it? You have to, you know, you get the kind of, if you like, the archetypes, like you say, and then you have to kind of translate that into the current situation of a person who is living a real life, you know, and what energies are triggered. Yeah.
It's again subjective, where it works for me because I love mythology so much and the stories and everything that happens. I fluidly am able to translate. Key word there, translate. It's easy for me to translate that. It's like breathing. But for you, you would actually have to slow your brain down to translate that information into something else. So it might not work for you.
Fascinating.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because our brains are going to work different ways,
Yeah.
and you don't have that, you know, nerd passion for the stories either. You have a love for different kind of stories.
But on my part, I haven't got the passion, but that's because I've never really explored the myths. I've never had the kind of desire to. Maybe I will kind of join you as being a mythological kind of, you know, nerd at some point. I'm definitely a million miles from it at the moment, but yeah,
there really are some cases where that mythology, understanding that mythological archetype, like the High Priestess, once I worked it out, because the High Priestess was one of my difficult cards, but she is so much more than her keywords. And I really, truly understand her on a level that she just doesn't trip me up.
Wow.
I'm sorry, I get really excited.
No. Well, it's very interesting that my introduction to all this is the Six of Pentacles, or Six of Coins, whatever you want to call it. And it was almost, you could say, this was given to me. So this was given to me. They didn't want any money for it. It was like, here is a box of tarot cards that I don't read, I don't use. Maybe you can make use of them. And they've sat there in that box. And because we are doing these recordings, blah, 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 I thought, I'm going to get them out. I'm going to, you know, and I got it out and I thought, pretty pictures, nice. You know, I can see what's going on in that picture. What deck is it? Found it out, blah, blah, blah. Right. And, you know, and maybe this is a gift to me that I need to receive with a bit more gratitude. And perhaps at some point I'll say, do you know, like, for example, I was doing all my psychic awareness for all those years. And then I knew what tarot was. I'd had a few readings, but it never occurred to me for a long time that I should be studying tarot, doing tarot properly, taking it seriously. And then when I did, it was like, why didn't I do this before? And it's like, maybe, why didn't I open that box before and find out about mythology when it was just sitting there, you know? Six of Coins. I'm feeling that's the card I chose to talk about.
Yeah, that's
wow.
Hopefully we opened some serious new doors. But remember, if it works for you, it's good for you. If it doesn't work for you, toss it out the window.
Well, we've got a little break, haven't we? Sort of over Christmas. I might read a few of these, and I might even read the High Priestess. There you go, and see what this deck.
I'm curious to see what that deck has the High Priestess as. I'm curious.
You know, funny enough, I think it was the High Priestess that made me realize, oh, this is that deck. I pulled out. It was the High Priestess. Isn't that weird? Yeah. I pulled out a random card earlier to see if I could identify the deck, and it was, well, I'll save it as a treat. It was the High Priestess. So I thought, yeah, that's the same picture.
Now I'm like ready to go. When we get to the High Priestess, y'all, it's on.
So do you have a Six of Pentacles card for us?
I do.
Is yours a gift as well?
No, this was one my poor husband. I've learned how to buy cards for myself.
Right.
Yeah, he's probably wishing I never had, seriously. This is the Victorian Romantic from Baba Studios,
Okay.
and it's got that cold casting to it that I love,
Oh
love,
yes, yes,
love.
yes, yes. Oh
And
yeah.
this is classic, traditional. Well, about one of the only cards in that deck that I have any understanding of. I really need time to get to know it. But this is traditional keyword charity. The priest coming out onto the steps of the church
Yeah.
and giving to the poor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That looks like a work of art that would have taken years to paint, doesn't
This
it?
I think the entire Victorian Romantic deck is based on Romantic era works of art. So just some phenomenal pieces. And I've even recognized one from a museum of Eros and Aphrodite for the lovers. So I didn't get it's always a good idea with Baba Studios to buy the companion book
Yeah.
to the deck, but I did not. I just have the little white book, but I think in
So
the
when
white
you're
book.
saying that's that is that actually a copy of a famous piece of art, or have someone actually painted it for this tarot deck?
Um I think somebody painted them for the tarot deck. How about I get smart and look?
That is a
I'll pop
massive
this card up.
undertaking.
Yeah, let me
I
see
mean,
what it
that
says.
level of art, you know, like you don't do
So
that in 5 minutes.
Baba Studios. That's why I really, even my Alice deck. I'm not an Alice in Wonderland fan,
Yeah.
but Baba Studio is so phenomenal with the quality and the undertaking of their decks. Everything about them. They're a little more expensive than new decks or normal decks, especially when they run out, like they only print limited editions. But everything they do is just absolutely phenomenal. The quality,
Where are they
everything.
based?
They were based in Prague, which I was so excited
Oh, okay.
because,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
moved to Ireland about a year or two
Oh, okay.
later. I almost said ago.
Yeah, but I mean, Pamela Coleman Smith drew the Rider-Waite deck in
Hmm.
about 6 months.
Yeah, that
It
was
was,
a rush
I
job.
mean, that looking at that picture you've just showed me of this six of coins, that looks like that would take 6 years just to do one card. Never
Probably
mind
did.
78 cards.
Okay, it said, okay, when Alex and I first decided to make this deck, we were driven, quite simply, by finding a remarkable old edition of a book of art engravings published in Germany in the late 19th century.
Yeah.
Looking through the dusty pages, we were excited about the pictures that we found there. Um, so much of the art we saw had been largely overlooked or even denigrated by formal art history. Neither pre-Raphaelite or Impressionist, it mostly fell into the categories of Victorian genre painting, Victorian classicism, or Victorian romanticism, which is nowadays unfashionable. Yet it was often done with extreme technical skill, and it seemed to us with narrative flair, too. These were paintings that first and foremost told stories. So we
Okay.
discovered many images that reminded us of traditional tarot symbolism. The devil, the high priestess, and the hermit were all there. But also there was scenes that Pamela Coleman Smith, artist of the 1909 Rider-Waite-Smith cards, might have recognized from her own minor arcana images.
Okay.
So Pamela did go to very many museums to get inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So everyday people in houses, streets, and gardens, knights and queens of past cultures, figures of myth, and more mundanely, circus, sideshow, masquerade, and theater performers. You would love this deck, Mandy. It is quite a mix, a spectrum of the imagery that interested and inspired the 19th century, and we found many gorgeous engravings that were emotional and inspiring. We realized how strong a reading deck this would be, not just beautiful, but also a powerful tool. We hope that you enjoy these cards and use them to bring your pleasure, insight, and wisdom. So I do believe that they used those
So
printings.
have you got like the Six of Coins? If you go to that thing, does it say based like what the original picture was? The Six of Coins?
No, it's just a little white book that has the upright meanings.
So it doesn't sound as though they painted all those pictures from scratch.
No.
But I mean, surely that would have just taken years.
I've recognized a couple of them. I have actually recognized a couple of them.
Right.
Anybody has the book, I know you're out there. Let us know if they redid the art specifically or if these are like daguerreotypes. What is that called? Not daguerreotypes. That's the wrong word. I'm in the wrong century.
I don't know what the word is that you know that they used the kind of originals.
Yeah, like you can buy a poster and it will be a blah. Anybody knows the word, leave that in a comment too. I'll be all right with that.
Things like works, I know, like with things like books, once the author has died for it's either 70 or 75 years, the book becomes public. It goes into the public domain, so anybody can use that work. You know, like you could do a theatre dramatization of Alice in Wonderland. You don't have to get permission off of anyone because Lewis Carroll died over 75 years ago, like, for example.
Like that Deck of the Week Cassidy just did with the Fantastic Menagerie.
Yes.
That was a specific artist's work that was quite old. You know, the work was quite old, and that was redone, remade, reimagined as a tarot deck.
You were allowed to do that. So it's probably, I don't know this for a fact. I'm just wondering, like with works of art, if the artist has been dead for more than so many years, are you allowed to sort of replicate it legally? I don't know.
So, because the copyrights are gone. As long as they're recognizing the artist, citing the artist, and Baba Studios is just pure professional. So we might have to ask them someday.
Imagine all the art. I mean, I know there is oh God, what's he called? That Salvador Dali deck, isn't there? And
yes, there is. Yeah.
There's probably people that create tarot decks have checked out all of the kind of like the big famous artists that maybe they're allowed to see whether they lend themselves to tarot decks. But anyway, fascinating. So that particular image is very typical Six of Coins that you've got there.
Very, very traditional. It definitely locks you into the keyword meaning. It lends itself to that. And some decks do. Some decks just go straight for the traditional. But there's nothing wrong with that. You just got to know your deck. That deck, I have a difficult time with. Beautiful art. But that's the only one in the deck. There's maybe 2 or 3 others that's just cut and dry to me, that went for the traditional, for the throat. The rest of it is, I haven't had time or inclination, aside from the beauty of the art, to spend a lot of time with it because it's so very static.
Okay. Well, anyone who's got any Six of Coins, like, never mind interpretations, but if anyone's got any other images of the Six of Coins that they would like to share with us, let us know. And you know, if you're getting something else from a Six of Coins, whether it's from the Rider-Waite or from another Six of Coins that's just saying something profoundly different, that would be really interesting to know.
And do us a favor, if you post a card for us that has an interesting image, please, by all means, let us know what deck it is so we can see if we need to get it.
And we don't mind being put to the test a little bit, really. If you've got a Six of Coins from another deck say the name of the deck, and we'll just see what it might trigger in one of us.
Yeah. And if you really love the deck and want it showcased, between us all, we've got probably a lot of decks. And I'm totally open to new decks because
Yeah.
I've got, I'd say, all told 52 decks, and we've got these decks of the weeks, and I have every intention of living more than 52 months. So I need more decks.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah, amazing. Well, I will eventually be doing a mythic tarot because I'm going to become an expert on it, like deck of the week.
Yes.
Not quite ready for it yet, but yes.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm like, you got me peaked. I'm like, I gotta see this.
Shall we progress onto the 7?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll see you there.